Part 1. The Silent Invasion. The massive alien ships moved through space like dark clouds blocking out the stars. Admiral Kexathera stood on the bridge of his flagship and watched the small blue planet ahead. Earth looked so peaceful and quiet from this distance. His scouts had told him that the humans were a simple race with basic technology. They used old rockets and primitive weapons. This would be an easy conquest. Kexathera had conquered 17 star systems for the Zephyrian Empire. Each time it got easier. Most alien races surrendered when they saw his fleet. The few that fought back were crushed within hours. His ships carried the most advanced plasma weapons in the galaxy. Their energy shields could stop any attack. Their faster-than-light engines made them the fastest fleet anywhere. The humans would fall just like all the others. On Titan, one of Saturn's moons, Commander Jake Morrison sat in a hidden bunker deep underground. The facility looked like an old mining station from the outside. Inside it was something very different. Screens covered every wall showing the alien fleet as it moved closer to Earth. Jake had been watching them for 3 days now. Jake pressed a button on his console. A woman appeared on the main screen. Dr. Lisa Carter looked tired but alert. She was on Earth in another hidden facility. The Zephyrians are moving faster than we expected, Jake said. They will reach Jupiter in 6 hours. Lisa nodded. Our decoy ships are ready. Captain Torres is in position with his team. Jake looked at the alien fleet again. There were over 200 ships. Each one was 3 times bigger than anything humans had ever built. At least that was what the aliens thought. Are you sure this will work? Jake asked. Lisa smiled. They think we are primitive. We have spent 50 years making sure they believe that. Today we find out if we were smart enough. For 50 years, humans had known about the galaxy beyond Earth. Secret missions had visited other worlds. Human spies had walked among alien races. They learned about galactic civilization and its wars. They saw how the strong conquered the weak again and again. So humanity made a choice. They would appear weak while becoming strong in secret. Earth built its real spaceships in hidden bases on the far side of the moon. They developed weapons that could crack planets in half. Their scientists created technology that made alien science look like stone tools, but they kept it all hidden. To the galaxy, humans looked like they had just learned to fly between planets. Earth sent out old-style ships that used simple fusion engines. Human colonies used basic equipment that any alien race would recognize. Everything was designed to make humanity look harmless. The plan was working perfectly until now. Captain Ben Torres floated in the command chair of his ship near Jupiter. The vessel looked like it was held together with spare parts. The hull was covered in patches and dents. Inside, the controls were simple switches and old computer screens. 3 other ships floated nearby looking just as battered, but Torres and his crew were not afraid. They knew what their ships really were. Alien fleet detected on long-range sensors, his pilot said. The young man named Gary was barely 20 years old. Distance is decreasing rapidly. Remember, everyone, Torres said over the ship's communication system. We are scared colonists trying to defend our home. Our weapons are weak, our ships are slow. We barely know how to fight. His weapons officer, a woman named Carol, laughed quietly. This should be interesting. The alien fleet appeared on their screens like a wall of metal and death. The Zephyrian ships were beautiful in their own way. Smooth hulls covered in exotic alloys, weapons that glowed with contained energy, shields that bent light around them like water. Admiral Kexathera watched the 4 human ships on his display. They were tiny compared to his vessels. Their hulls looked ready to fall apart. The energy readings showed primitive fusion reactors and simple projectile weapons. This is almost sad, his weapons officer said. Should we offer them a chance to surrender? Kexathera considered this. His empire preferred quick victories over long battles, but these humans needed to serve as an example to their species. No, he decided. Destroy them quickly. We want the humans on Earth to know what happens to those who resist. The human ships spread out in a basic defensive formation. They fired their kinetic weapons at the alien fleet. Solid metal projectiles traveled through space at high speed. The rounds bounced harmlessly off the Zephyrian shields. Torres watched his weapons hit the alien ships and do nothing. Nice shooting, Carol. Make it look like we are trying our best. The alien return fire was devastating. Plasma beams cut through space and struck the human ships. One vessel exploded in a ball of fire and metal. Another lost its engine section and drifted helplessly. The 3rd ship's hull cracked open and atmosphere rushed out into space. Torres's ship took several hits. The bridge filled with smoke and sparks flew from damaged controls. Warning alarms sounded throughout the vessel. Hull breach on Deck 3, Gary reported. Life support failing. We have maybe 10 minutes. Perfect, Torres said. He opened a communication channel to the alien fleet. This is Captain Torres of the Earth Defense Force. Our ships are destroyed. We surrender. Admiral Kexathara heard the human transmission. The voice sounded defeated and frightened. Exactly what he expected from a primitive species facing superior technology. Ignore their surrender, he ordered. Finish them. The last plasma beam struck Torres's ship directly. The vessel broke apart in a brilliant explosion. Pieces of hull and machinery scattered through space around Jupiter. Kexathara watched the debris field expand. 4 ships destroyed in less than 5 minutes. No alien casualties. No damage to his fleet. The humans had not even scratched his shields. Set course for Earth, he commanded. This conquest will be completed before the day ends. His fleet turned toward the inner solar system. The Zephyrian ships moved with the confidence of predators approaching helpless prey. Behind them, the wreckage of the human patrol slowly drifted apart. But among the metal debris were small objects that looked like pieces of destroyed equipment. These objects had tiny engines and communication devices. They recorded everything about the alien weapons and shields. They measured energy signatures and analyzed alien technology. Then they transmitted all of this information to hidden receivers throughout the solar system. Dr. Lisa Carter received the data on Earth 30 minutes later. She studied the readings on her screens and smiled. The alien weapons were exactly what human scientists had predicted. Their shields used known energy patterns. Their ships followed standard galactic designs. Everything about the Zephyrian fleet was in human databases already. Phase 1 complete, Lisa said into her communicator. The enemy believes we are helpless. Begin Phase 2 preparations. Around the solar system, hidden bases came alive with activity. Real human ships powered up their engines. Weapons that could reshape matter charged their energy cells. Soldiers who had trained for this day their entire lives prepared for battle. The Zephyrians thought they were hunting sheep. They were about to learn they had walked into a trap set by wolves. Part 2. The Deception. Deepan's Admiral Kexathara felt very pleased with himself as his fleet moved past the asteroid belt toward Mars. The human patrol near Jupiter had been pathetically weak. Their weapons could not even scratch his shields. Their ships fell apart after just a few hits. This would be the easiest conquest in Zephyrian history. Mars appeared on his screens as a red dot growing larger by the hour. His scouts reported several mining colonies on the planet's surface. There were also space stations orbiting the planet where humans extracted resources from nearby asteroids. Intelligence suggested these facilities had minimal defenses. Send the 3rd battle group to secure Mars, Kexathara ordered. The humans there should surrender without a fight after seeing what happened to their patrol. On Mars, Colonel Nick Parker watched the alien ships approach through the reinforced windows of Olympus Mining Station. The facility looked like a typical frontier outpost. Corrugated metal buildings sat on the dusty red surface. Solar panels and communication dishes pointed toward Earth. Everything appeared old and worn from years of use. But Nick knew the truth about this place. Like all human facilities, Olympus Station was far more than it seemed. How many ships are they sending? Asked his second-in-command, a woman named Linda who pretended to be the station's chief engineer. 40 vessels, Nick replied. More than enough to destroy us if this was a real mining station. Linda checked her tablet. All personnel are ready. The fake surrender protocols are loaded into our computers. Emergency beacons are prepared for transmission. Nick nodded. The most important part of their mission was making the aliens believe they had won easily. Human psychology experts had studied alien conquest patterns for decades. Most galactic empires followed the same basic strategy. They overwhelmed weak targets with massive force to break enemy morale. The Zephyrians would expect the Mars colonies to panic and give up immediately. The alien battle group entered Mars orbit and positioned their ships around the planet. Their commander sent a message to all human facilities demanding immediate surrender. The transmission was in broken English that showed the aliens had only basic knowledge of human language. Nick activated his communicator and responded in a voice filled with fear. This is Colonel Parker of Mars Colonial Command. We cannot fight your ships. We surrender completely. Please do not hurt our people. The alien commander seemed satisfied with this response. Zephyrian landing craft descended toward the major settlements. Marines in powered armor marched through the colonies, taking control of important facilities. They found exactly what they expected to find: frightened human civilians huddled in their homes. Mining equipment that was decades behind alien technology. Computer systems that used primitive processors and simple software. Storage areas filled with raw materials that showed humans were still learning how to process asteroid ore efficiently. The aliens set up command posts in the largest settlements. They interrogated human leaders about Earth's defenses. Nick and other colonial officials gave them detailed information about humanity's military capabilities. All of it was completely false but designed to sound believable. According to their reports, Earth had perhaps 50 warships in total. These vessels used the same basic technology as the patrol ships that had been destroyed near Jupiter. Humanity's largest weapons could only damage alien shields with prolonged bombardment. Earth's population was around 8 billion people with no real military training. The Zephyrian officers recorded everything carefully. This intelligence would help them plan their final assault on humanity's homeworld. Meanwhile, on Earth, President Kate Williams sat in a conference room 3 miles underground. The facility was hidden beneath the Rocky Mountains and could survive a direct hit from the most powerful alien weapons. Around the table sat the leaders of humanity's real military and scientific organizations. "The Mars deception is working perfectly," reported General Chris Taylor. "The aliens believe they have captured our most advanced off-world colonies. They think our mining technology represents our best engineering capabilities." Dr. Alex Chen stood up and activated a holographic display. The image showed the interior of a Zephyrian warship. Tiny robotic devices moved through the alien corridors like microscopic insects. "Our nanobots have successfully infiltrated 60% of the enemy fleet," Alex explained. "They appear as ordinary space dust on alien sensors. The robots are mapping their ships and finding ways to access critical systems." Kate studied the display with interest. The nanobots were one of humanity's greatest achievements. Each robot was smaller than a virus, but contained quantum processors more powerful than the computers that ran entire alien starships. They could reproduce themselves using raw materials found in space. They could communicate with each other across vast distances using quantum entanglement. Most importantly, they were completely invisible to alien detection systems. "How long before we have full network access?" Kate asked. "Another 48 hours, Alex replied. "The nanobots need time to integrate with alien computer protocols. But once they are in position, we will control their entire fleet." Ryan Brooks, the engineer who had designed the infiltration systems, brought up another display. This one showed energy readings from the alien ships. "Their power distribution follows standard galactic patterns. Our nanobots can overload their reactors or shut down life support systems on command." Kate turned to Dr. Lisa Carter, who had been coordinating the overall deception plan. "Are you confident the aliens still believe we are primitive?" Lisa smiled. "Completely. Our psychological profiles suggest that advanced alien races become overconfident when facing apparently inferior opponents. The Zephyrians see what they expect to see. They want to believe we are weak, so they ignore any evidence that might suggest otherwise." On Ceres Station, the largest human facility in the asteroid belt, Amy Foster watched alien ships patrol nearby space lanes. The station looked like a rough mining outpost carved into the surface of the massive asteroid. Its external appearance suggested a population of maybe 10,000 people living in basic habitats. The truth was very different. Ceres Station was actually the command center for humanity's real space fleet. Hidden deep inside the asteroid were construction bays, where Earth's most advanced warships were built. Quantum computers coordinated defensive networks throughout the solar system. Weapons research laboratories developed technology that could crack moons in half. The alien patrols passed within a few thousand kilometers of the station every few hours. Their sensors detected exactly what human engineers wanted them to detect: mining equipment, basic life support systems, and simple communication arrays. The massive underground facilities remained completely hidden. Amy activated her quantum communicator and contacted the Lunar Command Base. "Status report from Ceres. The aliens have established regular patrols but show no interest in detailed scans. They believe we are a typical mining operation." The response came from Commander Julia Barnes on the hidden side of Earth's moon. "Confirmed." Luna Base reports similar results. Enemy forces are focusing on major population centers and ignoring industrial facilities. Phase 2 is proceeding perfectly. Amy looked at her tactical displays. Human nanobots were spreading through the alien fleet like an invisible plague. Each hour brought more enemy ships under potential human control. Meanwhile, the real human military remained completely hidden from alien detection. Soon it would be time for the galaxy to learn what humanity could really do when threatened. The Zephyrians thought they were conquering a primitive world. They were actually walking into the most sophisticated trap in galactic history. Part 3. The Web Titan's Admiral Kexathera stood before the massive viewing screen on his flagship and stared at Earth. The blue and white planet filled most of the display. It looked so peaceful and defenseless. His fleet had reached Earth's orbital space without facing any real resistance. A few outdated human satellites had been easily destroyed. The planet's surface showed no sign of major defensive installations. This was almost disappointing. Kexathera had hoped for at least some challenge from humanity's homeworld. Instead, he found a species that seemed to have given up before the real fighting even began. Admiral, his tactical officer reported, "We are detecting several small spacecraft launching from the planet's surface. They appear to be interceptor fighters using primitive fusion engines." Kexathera examined the sensor readings. 12 human ships were climbing toward his fleet. Each vessel was roughly the size of a Zephyrian shuttle. Their energy signatures showed basic propulsion systems and simple projectile weapons. The human pilots were either very brave or very stupid. Let them come, Kexathera decided. Their destruction will serve as a final demonstration to the humans below. After we eliminate these fighters, we will begin orbital bombardment of their major cities. Lieutenant Steve Murphy gripped the controls of his fighter as it accelerated away from Earth's atmosphere. The cockpit around him looked like something from humanity's early space age. Analog gauges showed engine temperature and fuel levels. Simple radar displays tracked the massive alien fleet ahead. Everything about the fighter screamed outdated technology. Steve's wingman was a pilot named Carol, who flew beside him in an identical fighter. Behind them came 10 more human interceptors in a formation that looked desperate and hastily organized. "Remember, everyone," Steve said over the squadron's communication channel. "We are Earth's last hope. We have to stop these aliens or our families will die. Fight bravely even though our weapons are weak." The other pilots acknowledged his transmission with voices that sounded appropriately terrified and determined. They were all excellent actors playing their roles perfectly. Steve's fighter was not really the primitive vessel it appeared to be. Hidden within its basic-looking hull were quantum processors that could calculate faster than any alien computer. Its weapons were not simple projectiles but contained nanobots that would attach to any surface they hit. Most importantly, every component of the fighter was designed to explode in a very specific way when destroyed. The human squadron approached the alien fleet at maximum acceleration. Zephyrian point defense systems tracked their approach and began firing plasma bolts. The first human fighter took several direct hits and exploded in a ball of fire. The second fighter lost its wing and spun out of control before detonating. Steve weaved through the enemy fire while launching his weapons at the nearest alien cruiser. His projectiles struck the ship's hull and appeared to cause minor damage to the outer armor. In reality, the nanobots within those projectiles were already beginning to spread through the alien vessel's structure. More plasma beams reached out from the Zephyrian fleet. Carol's fighter disappeared in a bright flash. Another pilot screamed over the radio as his ship was hit and began to break apart. One by one, the human interceptors were destroyed until only Steve's damaged fighter remained. Steve's cockpit filled with smoke as alien weapons found their target. His controls sparked and went dark. The fighter's hull cracked open and atmosphere rushed out into space. "This is Lieutenant Murphy to Earth Command." He transmitted on an open channel that the aliens could monitor. "My squadron is destroyed. The enemy is too strong. We could not stop them. Tell my family I tried my best." His fighter exploded a moment later, adding to the growing debris field around the alien fleet. Admiral Kexathera watched the last human fighter die with satisfaction. The interceptor squadron had been eliminated without causing any damage to his ships. Not one human weapon had penetrated Zephyrian shields. The enemy pilots had died bravely but uselessly. "Begin orbital bombardment," he ordered. "Target the largest human population centers first. We want maximum psychological impact." The Zephyrian fleet moved into position above Earth's major continents. Massive plasma cannons charged their energy cells and prepared to rain destruction on the planet below. This would be the final phase of the conquest. After a few cities were destroyed, the remaining humans would surrender completely. But as the alien weapons reached full power, something unexpected began to happen. On the bridge of a Zephyrian heavy cruiser, the weapons officer noticed an error message on his targeting computer. The plasma cannon's aiming system was showing incorrect coordinates. Instead of targeting the human city below, it was pointing toward another alien ship. "Admiral," the officer reported over the fleet communication channel, "I am experiencing targeting malfunctions. My weapons are not responding properly." Similar reports began coming in from other ships. Weapon systems were failing across the fleet. Power distribution networks showed strange energy fluctuations. Some vessels reported that their engines were beginning to shut down without explanation. Admiral Kexithera felt the first hint of concern. His fleet had never experienced technical problems like this before. Zephyrian technology was the most reliable in the galaxy. "Run full diagnostics on all systems," he commanded. "Find the source of these malfunctions immediately." But the problems were only getting worse. On dozens of ships throughout the fleet, weapons were turning away from Earth and targeting other Zephyrian vessels. Engine systems were randomly firing in directions that pushed ships out of formation. Life support systems were cycling on and off, causing temperature fluctuations that made alien crew members uncomfortable. Deep inside Europa, one of Jupiter's moons, Dr. Carol Evans sat in a control room surrounded by quantum computers. The facility was hidden beneath miles of ice and appeared on sensors as a natural geological formation. Carol watched hundreds of status displays that showed the progress of nanobots throughout the alien fleet. "Infiltration is now complete," she reported to the hidden command centers throughout the solar system. "We have access to 97% of enemy systems. Beginning Phase 3 activation." Carol's fingers moved across her controls like a pianist playing a complex symphony. Each command sent instructions to millions of nanobots spread throughout the Zephyrian fleet. The tiny robots began taking control of alien computers and overriding safety protocols. In space above Earth, the first alien ship opened fire on its own escort vessels. Plasma beams designed to destroy cities instead struck Zephyrian hulls and overwhelmed their shields. The targeted ship returned fire in self-defense, not understanding why it was being attacked. Within minutes, the entire alien fleet was engaged in a chaotic battle with itself. Ships that had been in perfect formation began firing on their neighbors. Vessels tried to escape the combat zone only to have their engines shut down by sabotaged computer systems. Admiral Kexithera watched in horror as his mighty fleet tore itself apart. This was impossible. Zephyrian technology could not malfunction this badly. There had to be an external cause, but his sensors showed nothing except the debris from destroyed human fighters drifting harmlessly through space. Whatever was happening to his fleet, the source remained completely invisible to his detection systems. The trap was closing around the Zephyrian Empire, and they still had no idea what was really happening to them. Part 4. The revelation. Admiral Kexithera grabbed the sides of his command chair as another explosion rocked his flagship. Through the viewing screen, he watched his own fleet destroying itself in complete chaos. Zephyrian ships fired on each other, with weapons that should have been targeting the human planet below. Vessels spun out of control as their engines activated randomly. The most advanced fleet in galactic history was tearing itself apart, and he had no idea why. "Admiral," his communications officer called out over the sound of alarms, "I am receiving a transmission from Earth. The signal is being broadcast on all frequencies simultaneously." "Put it on the main screen," Kexithera ordered. Perhaps the humans were trying to surrender now that they saw the power of Zephyrian weapons, even though those weapons were currently pointed in the wrong direction. The image that appeared shocked him more than anything he had ever seen. A human male in military uniform sat calmly in what appeared to be a starship command center. Behind him were displays showing technical readouts and star charts that looked far more advanced than anything the Zephyrians had observed from human technology. "Greetings, Admiral Kexithera," the human said in perfect Zephyrian language. "My name is Captain Paul Davis of the Terran Space Command. I believe it is time we had an honest conversation." Kexithera felt his blood turn cold. How did this human know his name? How was he speaking flawless Zephyrian? And what was this Terran Space Command? Human intelligence had never mentioned any such organization. Paul continued speaking while the battle raged around the alien fleet. You are probably wondering why your ships are malfunctioning. The answer is simple. They are not malfunctioning. We are controlling them. Impossible, Kexathera whispered. But even as he spoke, his tactical displays showed more evidence that something was very wrong. His weapons officer reported that the plasma cannons were completely unresponsive to commands. The navigation officer said the engines were operating independently of the bridge controls. For the past 50 years, Paul explained, humanity has been aware of galactic civilization. We have visited your worlds, studied your technology, and learned your languages. We chose to appear primitive because we wanted to see how your empire treated species they considered inferior. Paul gestured to someone off-screen, and the display changed to show images that made Kexathera's heart stop beating. Human starships, unlike anything in his intelligence reports, moved through space using technology that bent reality around them. Weapons that could shatter asteroids with single shots. Defensive systems that made matter itself become intangible. We have been watching your empire conquer innocent worlds for decades, Paul said. We have seen how you treat those who cannot defend themselves. Today, that ends. The transmission cut out, leaving Kexathera staring at a blank screen. Around his flagship, the Zephyrian fleet continued its self-destructive battle. But now he understood that it was not an accident. Somehow, impossibly, the humans were controlling his ships. Space around Earth began to shimmer like heat waves rising from hot ground. Admiral Susan Blake watched from the bridge of the Terra Prime as reality bent around her ship. The massive vessel had been hidden in fold space for the past week, waiting for this moment. Now it was time to reveal humanity's true capabilities to the galaxy. All ships, prepare to decloak, Susan commanded. Show these invaders what human engineering really looks like. Throughout the solar system, human warships began appearing from dimensional hiding places. Each vessel used technology that the Zephyrians could not even understand. The ships seemed to exist in multiple dimensions simultaneously. Their hulls were made from materials that absorbed energy attacks and converted them into additional power. Their weapons could target enemies through solid matter and across vast distances. The Terra Prime materialized directly in front of Admiral Kexathera's flagship. The human vessel was 3 times larger than any Zephyrian ship and covered in geometric patterns that hurt alien eyes to look at directly. Energy readings from the human ship showed power levels that should have been impossible to generate or contain. Susan opened a communication channel to the alien admiral. Admiral Kexathera, this is Admiral Blake of the Terran Defense Force. You are hereby ordered to surrender your fleet immediately. Kexathera stared at the impossible ship hanging in space before him. Every sensor on his flagship was screaming warnings about energy levels that exceeded safe measurement ranges. His own weapon system showed that they were completely offline and under external control. How? Was all he could manage to say. On Europa, engineer Tony Martinez stood in the main control center surrounded by holographic displays showing every alien ship in the fleet. Each vessel was now completely under human control, thanks to the millions of nanobots that had infiltrated their systems over the past week. Admiral Blake, Tony reported through his quantum communicator. All enemy vessels are secured. Their weapons are offline, their shields are down, and their engines are responding only to our commands. The fleet is effectively captured. Tony pulled up a display showing the internal structure of a Zephyrian warship. Every critical system was highlighted in blue, indicating human control. The nanobots have integrated with their computer networks so completely that we know more about their ships than their own engineers do. Susan nodded with satisfaction. Excellent work, Tony. Begin the next phase. Human boarding ships began appearing around the alien fleet. These vessels were small and fast, designed to attach to enemy hulls and cut through any known armor. But they would not need to force their way aboard the Zephyrian ships. The nanobots had already unlocked every door and disabled every security system. Commander Julia Barnes led the first boarding party onto Admiral Kexathera's flagship. She walked through corridors filled with confused and frightened alien crew members who had no idea what was happening to their ship. The Zephyrians carried weapons but found that none of them would fire. Their armor systems were offline. Even their communication devices had stopped working. Julia reached the bridge where Admiral Kexithera sat in stunned silence. The alien commander looked up at her with eyes that showed complete defeat. "Admiral," Julia said politely, "I am Commander Barnes of the Human Space Marines. Your ship is now under our control. Please order your crew to cooperate with our personnel." Kexithera looked around his bridge. Every display screen now showed human text instead of Zephyrian writing. His officers sat helplessly at controls that no longer responded to their commands. The most advanced warship in his fleet had become a prison operated by an enemy he had thought was primitive. "Who are you, really?" he asked Julia in a voice filled with despair. Julia smiled. "We are exactly who we have always been, Admiral. We are humans. We are just not the humans you thought you were fighting." Throughout the alien fleet, similar scenes played out as human boarding parties took control of every ship. The Zephyrian Empire's mighty invasion force had become humanity's prisoners without a single human casualty. The galaxy was about to learn that Earth was not the helpless world it appeared to be. Part 5. The New Galactic Order. The Great Hall of the Zephyrian High Council fell silent as President Kate Williams entered through the massive doors. Representatives from 12 different alien species sat in shocked silence around the circular chamber. They had all come to this emergency meeting expecting to hear about another easy conquest by the Zephyrian Empire. Instead, they were witnessing something that none of them thought was possible. Kate walked calmly to the center of the hall, while holographic displays showed the current status of the Zephyrian invasion fleet. Every ship was intact but completely under human control. Alien crews sat helplessly in their own vessels while human personnel operated all critical systems. The most powerful military force in known space had been captured without destroying a single ship. "Honored representatives," Kate began in perfect galactic standard language, "I am President Williams of the United Earth Government. I believe we have much to discuss." The Zephyrian High Chancellor, a being named Vextar with purple skin and 4 arms, stood up from his ornate chair. His voice shook with anger and confusion. "This is impossible. Your species barely knows how to travel between planets. You cannot have defeated our finest fleet." Kate smiled politely. "With respect, Chancellor Vextar, your information about humanity is 50 years out of date. We have been traveling between stars since before your empire discovered our existence. We simply chose to let you believe otherwise." She gestured to the air above her head, and a 3-dimensional map appeared showing the entire galaxy. Red dots marked Zephyrian territory. Blue dots showed the locations of other major alien civilizations, but scattered throughout the map were green dots that none of the alien representatives recognized. "These green markers show the locations of human observation posts," Kate explained. "We have been quietly studying galactic civilization for 5 decades. We have bases on asteroids in your home systems. We have researchers living among your populations. We know more about your governments and military capabilities than your own intelligence services do." Chancellor Vextar sank back into his chair. The implications of what this human was saying were staggering. If humanity had been secretly watching galactic civilization for 50 years, then everything the major powers thought they knew about galactic politics was wrong. Dr. Kevin Ross stood up from his seat in the human delegation. He was one of Earth's leading experts on alien psychology, and had spent decades preparing for this moment. Kevin activated another holographic display that showed detailed information about Zephyrian military technology. "Your plasma weapons are based on Corvanian energy manipulation principles that we reverse-engineered 30 years ago," Kevin explained to the stunned alien audience. "Your faster-than-light drives use Altarian space-folding mathematics that we improved upon 20 years ago. Your shield technology comes from Centaurian defensive theories that we surpassed 15 years ago." He paused to let this information sink in before continuing. "Every piece of technology in your fleet is already outdated compared to current human capabilities. We have been deliberately staying ahead of galactic development while appearing to lag behind." General Chris Taylor stepped forward to address the military implications. "The nanobots that captured your fleet represent just one aspect of human defensive capability. We have weapons that can disassemble matter at the atomic level. We have shields that can phase objects out of normal space-time. We have ships that can exist in multiple dimensions simultaneously." Chris activated a display showing human military installations throughout the galaxy. More importantly, We have been preparing defensive positions in every major star system for decades. Any attempt to attack human interests or our allies will face opposition that your current technology cannot overcome. In the Zephyrian home system, Admiral Kexathera sat in a holding cell aboard his own flagship. The room was comfortable and well-appointed, but the door was sealed by human technology that his people could not break. Through the viewport, he could see his fleet orbiting the planet below under complete human control. Commander Julia Barnes entered the cell carrying a data tablet. She had been assigned to debrief the alien admiral and help him understand the new reality facing his empire. "Admiral," Julia said as she sat down across from him, "I want you to understand that humanity does not wish to be your enemy. We captured your fleet to prove a point, not to start a war." Kexthera looked up at her with tired eyes. What point could possibly justify humiliating the Zephyrian Empire in front of the entire galaxy? Julia activated her tablet and showed him video recordings from planets that his empire had conquered. Cities in ruins, populations enslaved, resources stripped from devastated worlds. Your empire has been conquering innocent civilizations for centuries. You treat other species as property to be owned and exploited. She switched to another set of images showing human relief efforts on worlds that had been attacked by various alien empires. Humanity has been secretly providing aid to the victims of galactic warfare for decades. We have rebuilt cities, provided medical care, and helped refugees find new homes. We did this while letting you think we were too primitive to interfere. Kexathera studied the images in silence. He had never seen conquered worlds from this perspective before. The Zephyrian military focused on strategic objectives and resource acquisition. They rarely considered the impact on civilian populations. "What do you want from us?" he finally asked. Julia leaned forward. "We want you to stop conquering innocent worlds. We want you to provide reparations to the civilizations you have harmed. We want you to join a new galactic community based on cooperation instead of domination." Back in the High Council chamber, President Kate Williams was presenting humanity's vision for the future of galactic civilization. Earth proposes the creation of a galactic protection alliance. Member worlds would agree to defend each other against aggressive empires. Disputes would be resolved through negotiation rather than warfare. The representative from the Altarian Republic, a species that had lost 3 colonies to Zephyrian expansion, spoke up with interest. What guarantees would this alliance provide? The Zephyrians have superior technology and larger fleets than most of our civilizations. Kate smiled. Had superior technology. Human defensive systems are now available to any species that joins the alliance. We can provide shield generators that will protect entire planets. We can establish monitoring networks that will detect hostile fleets before they reach your space. Most importantly, we can ensure that aggressive empires face unified resistance instead of isolated targets. She gestured to the holographic display showing the captured Zephyrian fleet. As you can see, even the most advanced military force becomes helpless when faced with superior technology and strategy. Humanity offers protection to those who want peace and consequences to those who choose war. Chancellor Vextar stood up slowly. His empire had been the dominant power in this region of space for 3 centuries. Now he faced a choice between adaptation and destruction. "The Zephyrian Empire accepts these terms," he said in a voice that carried across the silent chamber. "We will withdraw from conquered territories and pay reparations as required. We request membership in this Galactic Protection Alliance." Kate nodded graciously. "Welcome to a new era of galactic civilization, Chancellor. Together we can build something better than what came before." As the representatives began discussing the details of the new alliance, human ships throughout the galaxy powered up defensive systems that had been hidden for 50 years. Earth had revealed itself not as a conqueror but as a protector. The age of aggressive expansion was ending, and the age of cooperation was about to begin.